All right, so number 12, you had this. You had negative 4 times 3x plus 7 minus 5. All right, and the direction says use a distributive property. Now, at some point, the directions won't tell you to use a distributive property. You have to know that you have to use a distributive property here. Why do you have to use a distributive property? You want to get rid of the parentheses. Okay, you want to get rid of the parentheses. So to get rid of the parentheses, you're going to use the distributive property. And so, how do I use a distributive property here? What are you going to say? Negative 4 times 3x is negative 12x. Negative 4 times a positive 7 is, okay, negative 28. And then you have that subtract 5, right? Well, that's not your answer. Because you're supposed to now know how to combine like terms. So which terms are alike? And what are those called? Constants. All right, so in your calculator, if you don't know anything about signed numbers from the last semester's course, then use your calculator. What's a negative 28 and a negative 5? Or you could say negative 28 subtract 5. What is that? Negative 28. What is that? Negative 33. So what should the answer be? Minus 33. Okay, that's the answer. That's what goes in the blank. Okay, so any other questions from that worksheet? Worksheet C before we go on. Okay. All right, so make sure you understand how to use the distributive property and how to combine like terms. Make sure you understand that simplify here, simplify the result, means to combine like terms. That's going to be important. And what about worksheet, what's the other one? B? Anything with worksheet B that you need to look at? It's going to be in your test, so make sure you, if you have a question about worksheet B, you say it now. Okay. All right, and let's see. There was something from, let me just. All right, so in 8.2 part C, a lot of you, and remember that chart that we talked about from a previous lesson? It had those keywords in it, subtract from, difference. Remember all that? Some of you messed up on things like 7 less than a number, 3 times a number subtracted from 10, 2 less than a number. What was it, something else y'all messed up on that it took a -1 from? It was probably those 3. So remember, the subtractions, you have to be careful because subtraction is not commutative. So 7 less than, when you see the word less than, what do you do with the order of what you see? You reverse it. So this should be, where some of you said 7 minus 6 is not correct. It should be what? X minus 7. You got to reverse it. What is the other phrase in terms of subtraction that you got to reverse? Subtract from. Subtract from. So here's a subtract from, and here's the other less than. So 2 less than, you got to reverse these, right? Reverse these. So it's twice the number means 2x, and then minus 2. And then here's the subtracted from. So what comes first, the 3x or the 10? The 10. The 10 comes first. So that's going to be important when we get into the word problems. So this is getting you prepared for those word problems. So you got to handle these words now so that doesn't get you confused when we get into the word problems, because you're going to have a lot more words in it. Now, the other thing I saw that about 3 of you made, I'm not sure where that's coming from, but where some of you said 3 times a number, you wrote it as x cubed. That's not 3 times a number. That's x raised to the 3rd power. X raised to the 3rd power means x times x times x. That's not the same thing as 3x. Okay? So 3 times a number is not x cubed. It is what? 3x. Okay? So, and y'all do the same thing with twice a number. Twice a number is not x squared. Twice a number is 2 times x. So those are some of the mistakes that I saw y'all make with this. The others you seem to be okay with. Just keep in mind that when it says quotient, we prefer to use the division symbol, this division symbol, not this division symbol. And the reason is because this could have been something more than one term. So you got to be careful because you can't say x plus 6 divided by 4 to mean x plus 6 divided by 4. Those are not the same thing. This and this are not the same thing. So you need to start using this division symbol here with your expressions. Okay? All right. Now, if you put this with this, it's no big deal here because that's just one thing here and that's one thing. But this is two things. So if you meant this to be this, then these two are not the same thing. Okay, so use this. Use this instead of this symbol. I didn't take up any points, but if this was the answer and you put this, I would have, because that's not the same thing. Okay? All right. Okay, so any questions on any of this? All right, now what we did here, this right here, we continued talking about last class period, and we were still working with this. So for example, this is going to be number, on when you look at the notes from last class period, we stopped at number 50. If you look at number 50, so this is going to be number 54. So let's look at 54. And this is on page 608. One more thing before we go on, and you need to make sure you're aware of this. In terms of Math Lab, there are two things up. Y'all saw that, right? Okay, so section 8.2 is due on the 6th. That's been up for a while. We're in the third week of school now. So 8.2 is due the 6th. 8.6 is due the 12th. And then I'm going to sign 8.7 today. And so I'll probably do about 8 days from now. Okay? So not all of you have registered. I'm not sure why, because you have that 2-week free trial.
I have a question about that as well.
Okay.
I called the bookstore because I still haven't gotten my book.
Yeah.
They said
Okay.
that's backed up.
Okay. Then take the 2-week trial.
I did a 2-week trial, so I'm sure that's probably, she said they don't know when they were gonna get it.
Do you have to have a book? Can you just get the code, or you want the book?
I already spent the money on
Okay.
it.
When did you order it?
Like the first day of class.
Okay. I'm going to call the bookstore and check on that.
Okay.
Okay.
I do know that they said if it's longer than the 2-week trial, the 2-week trial should be extended.
Okay.
Yeah,
How do you
my
know what it is?
2-week trials until September 28th.
So
Yeah,
how do you know if it gets extended?
Well, when you sign up, like when I signed in, it's like, do you want to join this class? I pressed yeah, and it was like, enjoy this trial. But you must pay the 108, I think, before the.
Oh, but
I bought my book.
she bought the book already.
Yeah.
Well, you could just use the trial.
But the trial
Yeah,
ends
but-
soon, that's what I'm saying. 2 weeks ends soon.
So let me so hold on. 608. We have number 54. And so you have a minus 11, negative 11c, minus in parentheses 4 minus 2x. All right, so you have this. Okay, so how do you deal with this? What are you going to do? And the directions will say simplify. That's probably what it's going to say. So what are you going to do? Use the distributive property. And what would you distribute? Okay, so remember we talked about this. If there's no number right here, it's understood to be a 1, right? So this becomes negative 11c minus 1 times 4 minus 2x. So if you need to put that 1 there, which it looks like you do for some of you, then you need to put that 1. And really, it's not a 1. It's going to be a what? No, right here. A negative 1, right? So you can distribute the negative 1. So everything inside the parentheses has to be multiplied by negative 1. All right, so then we get negative 11c. All right, now what does this become right here? Negative 4 plus 2x, because a negative times a negative is a positive. All right, so that's where we're at. Now that brings us back to that worksheet you turned in where some of you forgot what simplify means. Am I done? Okay, well, let me make sure I wrote down the variables correct, and I did not. I apologize. This should be C. Excuse me. If this were the variables, then yeah, I'd be done, right? Because there aren't any like terms. Okay, but that should have been a C. All right, now let me ask you this question. Am I done now? No, because what terms are alike? The C's. So remember how we did this. We looked at the coefficients. What's the coefficient here that I'm pointing to? Negative 11. I'm adding that to this coefficient. What's this coefficient? 2. If you don't remember anything about signed numbers from last semester, use your calculator. And calculate what's negative 11 plus 2? Negative 9. So then, what is negative 11c plus 2c? Negative 9c. And then the only thing left is what? Minus 4. So there's your answer. Okay? That was number 54. So again, if you don't see a number there, send it to be a 1, so you can distribute, in this case, a negative 1. So everything inside the parentheses has to be multiplied by negative 1. All right, you're going to see things like this for the next course, the course after that, and so on until you're done with math. All right, let's look at 58. Okay, so you have this. Same idea. This is 58. So 4 times 2x minus 3, subtract, and then x plus 1. How many sets of parentheses do you see? So how many times do you use distributive property? Twice. The first one's easy for you because you're just going to distribute what? A 4. So when I distribute a 4, what does this right here become? 8x minus 12. Okay, good. All right, it's the other one that's causing some of your problems because you don't know what to distribute. So if you cover, let's say you cover this part up right here, then what would you distribute here? Negative 1. So if you need to, you may want to put this, let me go ahead and write it right here. You'll agree that this is this, right? Okay, so if I distribute that negative 1, what does this right here become? Negative x minus 1. All right. Is that the answer you'd leave in the blank? No, because I can combine like terms. In terms of the variable x's, what does that add up to be? 7x. Only 7x, right? Because 8 and then, see this coefficient's 8 plus, what's this coefficient right here? Negative 1. 8 and negative 1 is 7. So 8x and negative x is a 7x. All right, now in terms of your constants, what's this constant? Plus, what's this constant? And using a calculator, what's negative 12 and a negative 1? Negative 13. So the answer is 7x minus 13. Okay. All right, 62. 62. All right, 62, you have this. You have 8 plus 4 times 3x minus 4. All right. What's the first thing you're going to do? Distribute the 4? Could someone have said 8 plus 4 first and say 12?
No, it's not gonna be like that.
Right. So remember the order of operations. The order of operations, see, this is addition, and this is what right here that I'm pointing to? Multiplication. According to the order of operations we did the first day of class, what has higher priority? Multiplication. Remember, I'm talking about addition, multiplication. Of those two, what has higher priority? Multiplication. So I got to multiply first. So don't say 8 plus 4 is 12, and then distribute the 12. That's like the same thing. That's not the answer. You got to follow the order of operations. So I got to distribute first, hence the multiplication, and then you're going to add. All right, so this is going to be 8 plus what? 12x minus 16. And so what can I combine? Those are called what, though? Constants. So 8 and a negative 16 is a negative 8. Always put the variable term first. So what's going to be listed first? 12x, and then what? Minus 8. Okay, let's look at 68. 68. All right, 68. You have 7 times 2x plus 5 minus 4 times x plus 2, and then minus 20x, minus 20x. 4? Yeah. 7 times 2x plus 5 minus 4 times x plus 2, and then minus 20, that's a 20, x. How many sets of parentheses do you see? 2. So how many times do you use distributive property? Twice. All right, the first one is going to be easy because you're distributing what number? So everything inside the parentheses you have to multiply by 7. 7 times 2x? 7 times 5? All right, so that's what that becomes. Over here, what will I distribute? Negative 4. Negative 4 times x? Negative 4 times 2? And then minus 20x, right? Okay, now what's the next idea? Next idea is to do what? Combine like terms. All right, combine like terms. So let's do the x's first. All right, so my coefficients are 14, and what's this one? 4? Negative 4, right? Negative 4, and what's this one? Negative 20. So on your calculator, what's 14 plus negative 4 plus negative 20? Negative 10. So this is going to be negative 10x, is that right? All right, and then my constants are 35 and a negative 8. So what's 35 subtract 8, or 35 plus a negative 8? 27. So negative 10x plus 27. Is that correct? Okay. All right, let's look at 70. So in 70, you have 1/3 times 9x minus 6 minus, in parentheses, x minus 2. That's what we have. Okay, so how many sets of parentheses? How many times use distributive property? Twice. Okay, so the fractions, be a little bit careful, it causes some of the issues, but you have this right here, 1/3 times 9x, correct?
Yeah.
So this is really 1/3 times 9. Let's think of 1/3 times 9 for right now. What's 1/3 of 9? 3. So if you don't see that, remember, you can reduce first or you can multiply first. Does not matter. If I multiply first, you multiply the numerators. What's 1 times 9? And what's 3 times 1? Now don't leave your answer like this. You need to know that 9 divided by 3 is what? 3.
Do you want us to show that work?
No. No. We're just discussing this. So you could see, most of you should see that 1/3 of 9 is 3.
Yeah.
And then 1/3 of 9x then is what? 3x. Yeah, just this is what I would like you to show. Okay, and then what is 1/3 of negative 6? So you're saying 1/3 of 6. It'll be minus 2, right? But 1/3 of 6 is just 2, right? So 1/3 of negative 6 then is negative 2. All right. And then over here, distribute the what? Yeah, so this part, I'm going to just rewrite it here. You don't have to show this part. But in your mind, you're distributing a negative 1, correct? So when you distribute negative 1, what does that become right here? What else? Plus 2? Okay. All right, combining like terms. Let's start with the variable x. What's 3x and a negative x? 2x, good. Now your constants. What's a negative 2 and a positive 2? 0. 0, right? They cancel out. They're opposites. Remember we talked about opposites? So when you add two things that are opposites, their sum is 0. So the answer is just what? 2x. Don't say 2x plus 0. Just say what? 2x. That's how you write 2x. Okay? All right, now let's look at this one. Okay, so I'm on Math Lab, and on one of the worksheets, you can see something like 72. 72 is easy because it says this. It says add 3y minus 5 to y plus 16. So add 3y minus 5 to y plus 16. So it's kind of like saying, in a previous course, it's kind of like saying add 6 to, let's say, 5. Oops, 6 to 5. Add 6 to 5. So adding 65 means to say what? 6 plus 5 or 5 plus 6, right? These words mean this, correct? Or you can say 5 plus 6 because addition is commutative. And so what's 5 plus 6 or 6 plus 5? 11. So this right here means y plus 16 plus what? 3y minus 5. That's what that means. Okay? And so therefore, combined like terms, what do you get when you combine your y's? 4y. So y plus 3y is 4y. And then 16 and negative 5 is 11. Okay, so adding's not that bad. Adding's easy. It's a subtraction based on what we talked about. Subtract from, less than. That's going to cause some of you issues. So let's look at number 74. So 74 now says this. 74 says subtract 4x minus 7 from 12 plus x. So subtract 4x minus 7 from 12 plus x. All right, so we see that word subtract from. So what should I list first? 12 plus x should be listed first. Okay? 12 plus x should be listed first. And then I'm subtracting, so hence the subtraction symbol, from 12 plus x, what I'm subtracting? 4x minus 7. Now be careful. This is what you're going to do. And that's not correct. Because this says I'm subtracting only 4x. I need to be subtracting what? 4x minus 7. So hence you got to put this in parentheses. You have to put that in parentheses. You're subtracting all of it. Not just one part, but all of it. And so that it looks like some problems we had earlier. All right, so don't forget that. So a lot of you forget the parentheses. So you got to put that in parentheses. So what you may want to do first of all when you do something that looks like this, put them automatically in parentheses. Group them like that. Group them. All right. And so right here, if I group them like this, watch. This is what you would group, right? And you might say, well, don't you now have to use a distributive property? Not really. Because what number's right here?
1.
And 1 times anything is itself, right? What number's right here?
1.
1 times anything is itself. Okay? So when I put this in parentheses, I group this, correct? 12 plus x, subtract this group. This part's easy because 1 times this is just what? 12 plus x. Now here, that goes back to our previous problem we had earlier. What are you going to distribute here? -1, because this right here is really this. And so when I distribute, what do you get? Plus 7, because a negative times a negative is a positive. And so therefore, what's x and a negative 4x? Yeah, if you can't figure it out right away, use your calculator. What's this coefficient that I'm pointing to? 1 plus, what's this coefficient? On your calculator, 1 plus the negative 4 is a negative 3. So what's x then and a negative 4x? Negative 3x. Okay, now your constants. What's 12 and a positive 7? 19. Okay? So if you need to, put those in parentheses. Right away, put them in parentheses. So when you look at number 76, same thing as it'll say subtract. And this is what it's going to look like. It'll say subtract m minus 3 from 2m minus 6. So m minus 3 from 2m minus 6. So if you tend to have a little difficulty with these, then what should you do with these m minus 3 and 2m minus 6, those expressions? Put them in parentheses. Put those in parentheses. And now remember, subtract from means I put what first? 2m minus 6 in parentheses. And I'm subtracting the other group. And what's that other group? M minus 3. Now let's get rid of the parentheses. This right here is understood to be a 1, right? 1 times 2m and 1 times negative 6 is still what? 2m minus 6. Now over here, I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this. This right here is understood to be a negative 1. So there's a negative 1 times m minus 3. And then distribute, what do you get right here? Negative m plus 3. So this is negative m plus 3. Okay? So put them in parentheses if you need to. It does help for some of you. Okay, combining like terms, what's the answer? Yeah, 2m minus m is m. A negative 6 and a positive 3 is a negative 3. So m minus 3, right? Okay. Any questions on that? Okay, so don't forget to put those in parentheses.
If we, just put the one, we leave a 1m minus 3, not gonna mark off for that, or you?
Right as 1m. Mathematically, no, but I need for you to stop doing that.
Okay.
Her question is, if you write as 1m minus 3, that's mathematically there's nothing wrong with it, but it's preferable that you understand that 1m is just what? M. So this is what we want. So don't write it as 1 times m. Okay? So if the coefficient is a 1, leave it off. It's understood to be m minus 3. All right? Okay, now let's look at this. Okay. All right, so this is number 78. Okay, so it's in Word, so this is what it says. It says the difference. So this goes back to that table with all those words from probably 3 periods ago. So the difference of a number, and 2, comma, divided by 5. All right, so the difference of a number and 2, comma, divided by 5. All right, so you want to write those words as an expression, just like you did on a worksheet. Remember that worksheet y'all got back today? There you had the words and you had to write expressions. Those were easier kinds than this one. So this you're extending it a little bit more with what you got back. So there's a comma there, so that means a pause. So look at that first part of the sentence. The difference of a number and 2. Difference here means to do what? Subtract. So remember, subtraction, you got to be careful with the order. The only 2 things that you reverse are if it says subtract from or what else? Less than. So do I reverse anything here? No. So whatever's listed first comes first. So you see the word number. So what do I use in place of the word number? X. So that expression, the difference of a number and 2, is what expression? Just look at that first part. X minus 2. Now remember on that worksheet where some of you had the quotient of x and 2, and you had, remember earlier you had x, let me just put it here, you had this. X divided by 2, which I said is okay here because that's just one thing and one thing, but we prefer to say this, right? Okay. So this, you're going to use the actual division symbol. So you're going to say x minus 2, the whole thing's being divided by what? 5. That's the answer. Don't say x minus 2 divided by 5. Those are not the same thing. Because this says the only thing you're dividing by 5 is what? 2. Negative, right, 2 in this case. Okay? You're not dividing x by 5. You're only dividing 2 by 5. And whatever that is, you're subtracting it from x. That's what that says. So don't use this. Use this symbol here. So that's why I asked you, I said, say instead this. Okay, so this is not correct. All right, so that's the answer. Okay? That's the answer. So x minus 2, comma, and the whole thing's being divided by 5. Okay, let's look at 80. So 80 says this. 80 says 8 more than triple a number. So 8 more than triple a number.
3x plus 8.
Okay. So the more, remember the word more in our table was what operation? Addition. All right. So you're adding 8 to triple a number. And what does triple a number, what expression is that? 3x. So you're multiplying x by 3. So you would say 3x plus 8, or you could have said 8 plus 3x. It does not matter. It does not matter. All right, so that was 80. 82. Okay, so in 82 it says this, the sum of 3 times a number and 10. The sum of 3 times a number and 10. Subtracted from, so there's the word subtracted from 9 times the number. Okay, so the sum of 3 times a number and 10 subtracted from 9 times the number. All right, so you see the word subtract from, so you have to do some reversing, correct? All right, so the part that comes after the phrase subtract from actually listed first. So let's look at this right here. That's the part that comes after. What expression does 9 times the number represent? 9x. Okay, so put that first. Then it says subtract from. So what operation is that? Subtract. Now the other part, going back to this part now, says the sum. What does sum mean? Addition. So you're adding. And you're adding 3 times a number. How do you represent that 3 times a number? And 10. So that's 3x plus 10. Okay. Now, I'm going to ask you this. Is this correct? No. Good. What do I need? Parentheses. Okay, awesome. Good. All right, so that's what you should have listed. All right, so 9x minus, in parentheses, 3x plus 10. So this says the sum of this right here, the sum of 3 times a number and 10 is being subtracted from 9 times the number. Okay, now that's not the answer they want. They want you to kind of use the simplifying part. Get rid of the parentheses, combine like terms. So what's the next step? Distribute -1, right? So remember this right here, that is really this. And now distribute the -1. So this is 9x, and then what is the rest? Okay. All right. -10, good, because a -1 times a +10 is a -10. And then when you combine like terms, what's going to be the answer?
3x minus 10.
Oh, be careful. 6x. Yeah, 9x minus 3x is 6x. 6x minus 10, right? Okay. But there's the work you have to do. You still have to show this work. All right? And then, but that's the answer you're going to put in the blank. If it says show work, that's your work, and there's your answer. All right? Okay, let's look at 84. All right, 84. Okay, 84. It says this, 6 times the difference of a number and 5. So 6 times the difference. 6 times the difference of a number and 5. So 6 times the difference of a number and 5. Now that's going to cause some of you some issues, this one. So let's see what you think this is. So 6 times the difference of a number and 5. All right. So that's where half of you are going to say one thing, the other half of you are going to say something else.
Wouldn't it be 6x minus open parentheses x plus 5 close parentheses?
Wait, say that again? 6x.
Minus parentheses x plus 5.
Okay. All right. So she says it's this. Any other thoughts? We're just listening. What else do you think? There's just one thought in here. You think it's this as well? 6 times the difference of a number and 5.
It wouldn't be 6 times
Tell me what to write.
6 parentheses x over 5.
X over 5?
Yeah. I would say and 5.
The 6 times the difference. X divided x over 5 means division. Huh?
No, it'll be plus 5.
You think it's plus 5? Okay. Anything else? What'd you say? No other thoughts? I'll be honest with you, none of these are wrong. I mean, none of these are correct. Now, do you have any other thoughts? That's not correct. Say it. When you say times, what do you mean? Like when he said times, he said parentheses.
Multiplication.
Yeah, parentheses, multiplication.
We're saying the
Negative
difference of-
Say it again.
Negative x?
Negative x?
The difference of a number is negative x plus 5.
Nope.
It would be minus 5. X minus 5.
Okay, so now he's saying this.
No, it's gonna be 6x.
That's correct. Right here.
Because you say different.
Okay, so first of all, difference means to subtract. So when you said plus 5, I was a little confused as to why you would say plus when it said difference to begin with. So 6 times the difference of a number and 5.
We keep looking at
Oh, yeah, I see. But 6 times the difference of a number and 5. Okay, so you see, there's no comma anywhere in here. So this right here, the 6 times means 6 times, and then you're going to take the difference, which means subtraction, right, of a number and what's the other number? 5. And that's what you have. Okay? So 6 times, and then the difference, subtract, of a number, and what do we call that number? X, and 5, and how do we write 5? 5, that's a symbol. Put that in parentheses. So 6 times this difference. Okay, this right here, I'm not sure, that has nothing to do with this. Here you could say, I would write this as subtract from. So the sum of a number and 5, subtracted from what? 6 times the number. That's what that would be. Okay. What I thought some of you would say is this. That's what I thought some of you would say. None of you said it. That's a common one people write, because they say 6 times. They see the word difference, so 6 times the difference of a number. So right away they think 6 times a number, and then subtract 5. That's not what this is saying. This right here says the 6 times a This right here is the difference of 6 times a number and what? And 5. That's what that is. So that is the difference of 6 times a number and what? 5. That's not what this says. This says 6 times what? The difference of a number and 5. Okay, see the order in which it's written. So you may want to write this down and note that this right here means this, and this right here means this. Okay? All right. So 84 causes some issues. So just remember that. So if we had this example, 3 times the sum of a number and 4. Right away, now you should know what to write. Oh, and by the way, we're not finished with this one. I'll come back to this one, number 84. But I just want to go ahead and write this right away. So 3 times the sum of a number and 4. Well, how would you write that? 3 what? Parentheses. What? X plus 4. Okay, that's what that is. Okay, so 3 times x plus 4. Okay, now I want to come back to 84 because remember when we did 82, I could show you 82, we didn't stop here, right? We had to get rid of the parentheses and we had to combine like terms if we could. So I'm not done with this. What do I need to do with this? Distribute. Okay, so then the answer is going to be what? Minus 30. Okay, so the directions will say simplify if possible. So don't leave it like this. Simplify this so you distribute a property and combine if you can. Same thing here. Don't leave it like this. You're going to distribute what? 3. So that's going to be 3x plus 12. All right, so that's 84. Okay, and then let's look at 86. So 86, you have half a number minus the product of the number and 8 minus the product of the number and 8. So half a number minus the product of a number and 8. So again, minus means to subtract, product means to do what? Multiply. What is half? Half means what? 1 over 2 times, though, right? So how now with the word minus, do I have to reverse any order? No. Only if you see less than or subtract from. So this part here that I'm circling, what is half a number? How's that represented? 1 over 2 times x. So that part is this. Make sure you understand that. So half a number is 1/2 x. Minus means to do what? Subtract. So that is this. Y'all see it? Now let's talk about this part that I have underlined twice. The product of a number and 8, how's that represented? 8x. The product of a number and x. Y'all agree? Okay, product of a number. How do you represent a number? X. And was it also be multiplied by? 8. So it's 8x. So 1/2 x minus 8x. Okay. Now let's combine like terms. What's a half on your calculator? Tell me what a half minus 8 is. Negative 7.5 there, right? Y'all agree? So what's this answer? Negative 7.5 what? X. Right? So a half x minus 8x is a negative 7.5x. Okay, so that was the end of this section. That's all you have to do here. All right, so we're going to continue talking about 9.1. It's not that difficult. 9.1's easy. Before we do that, let me give you the worksheets. All right, so let's suppose we had something like this. Suppose we had 4 times 3x minus 1 minus 6 times 2x plus 3. Let's suppose we had that. All right, so 4 times 3x minus 1 minus 6 times 2x plus 3. Okay? All right, so what I want to see for the work is this. All I want you to do is do the distributing. So you're going to say 4 times 3x is what? Write that down. Then you're going to say 4 times negative 1 is what? Write that down. Then you're going to distribute it what here? Negative 6 times 2x? Negative 6 times 3? That's what I want to see. And then your answer is going to be what you get when you combine. So what's 12x minus 12x? 0, right? You're not going to put 0x, you're going to leave it off. And what's a negative 4 and a negative 18? Negative 22. So that'll be your answer. So you're going to say what I want for the work? All right. So you're going to have how many terms in your work? How many terms do you see here? 4. Okay. So it's like all of them are going to be 4, it looks like. So 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, and so on. Oh, that's going to be how many terms here? Right here.
4?
Nope. 1, 2. You're only distributing it what? Oh, it is 4. I'm sorry. Nope, nope, nope. You're right. 4. Excuse me. I was thinking 5, but it's 4. 1, 2, and then you're distributing 2, so that's how many terms? 2. It's all 4 altogether, right?
4.
And 4. Okay? Now it says rest of problems on the back page. Let's see what that is. Oh, same thing. Now use your calculator with the decimals. So 0.6 times m, 0.6 times negative 3. Over here, how many terms though? Look at 9. This is how many right here that I'm pointing to.
5.
Yeah, but this right here is 2. This is 2, and that's 1. So altogether it's going to be how many? 5. Okay. All right, you understand what I want for the work? Okay. All right, so that's C. So that'll be 1 week from today. And then D is what we just did, those word problems. Okay, so let me tell you what some of this means. So use X. Now on that worksheet you turned in with the expressions, and I said let X represent the number, some of you used N. If it says X, you got to use what? X. I didn't take off any points you used N, but I need for you to use X if it says X. Okay? All right, so you would say 3 times the number decreased by 4 for the expression here. Then all of a sudden it says this: the sum of 8 times the number and negative 6 added to 7 times the number. All I want is the answer. So what does simplify mean? Whatever you wrote, when you combine like terms, put that here. All right, so for example, suppose we had this. So they're going to use this with 8.7 part D. So suppose we had this. Suppose we had twice a number. Okay, twice a number, comma, minus the sum of a number and 8. So twice a number, comma, minus the sum of a number and 8. And is going to say this. On the worksheet, it'll say a blank, simplified answer. So I'm hoping those that are absent are going to watch that video. All right, so only one thing in that blank, so make sure you understand what I'm interested in. So what goes here is that simplified expression. After you get rid of the parentheses, after you combine like terms, that's what goes there. But if you look at this expression, though, how would you write it first of all? Twice a number means what? 2x. Minus means to do what? Subtract. But what am I subtracting? The sum of what? A number and 8. So let's just talk about the sum of a number and 8. How do you represent the sum of a number and 8? X plus 8. So I'm going to ask you, is this right here correct? No. What do I need? Parentheses. Now, based on what we've done today, is that what goes in the blank? No, because that's not simplified. So simplified, you got to get rid of the parentheses. Using what property? Distributive property, and then combine like terms. Okay? So here you would say 2x minus 1 times x plus 8, right? And what would you distribute? Negative 1. So that's 2x minus x and what? Minus 8. So what's going to be the simplified answer? Don't, yeah, someone said 1x, but it's really x, right? Okay, so just say x minus 8. So that's what goes here. You understand what I want? Okay, so look at that when you're doing that worksheet. So if it says simplified, it means something. If it says simplified, it means there's some work you got to do. If there's no word simplified, then there's nothing you can do. I mean, this one's easy. 3 times a number. How do you represent 3 times a number? 3x. Decrease by 4. What does that mean? Subtract 4. You're done. Nothing to combine. Right? Okay. So any questions on that worksheet? All right. So